What do you get when you take people dedicated to their craft, going through leaps and bounds, acting on their plan of action even in the midst of adversity? You get a heartfelt story so organic and becoming so genuine, which forces you to be a part of their moment, joining these experiences as if you were a part of them. These are stories of people, just like you and I, reflecting from within on how they've used adversity to catapult their lifestyle, their vision, and their goals to becoming successful. Here at the Stories to Savor Network, we welcome you to this wonderful heartfelt show entitled Reflections from Inside. So the next time you go through trials and tribulations, or having self-doubt, consider to let the stories resonate with you in hopes to inspire you to believe that you can do whatever you set your mind to do.
Welcome back. I'm joined with Stacy Killion, author of The Cardboard Box. Stacy, you did a great job of helping us understand kind of the environment that you grew up in, what your childhood looked like. But at some point, you did turn into an adult and you wanted to get married and have your own family. Talk to me a little bit about what that looked like.
Okay, so I met this wonderful man in high school when I was a freshman. So I was 14 and he was a senior. So we made eye contact, fell madly in love. Everybody in the whole entire school wanted this guy. He was like the guy. And I was lucky enough and blessed enough to have this guy. So he came from a middle-class home, Catholic home, big family. A lot of his relatives were nuns. And so he treated me well all through high school. He bought me a Blue Star Sapphire diamond ring, you know, and we were in this long-term commitment. When he graduated from high school, he moved to Chicago for a job. So my sophomore, junior, and senior year, we had a long-term relationship. So during the summer, my mother would let me come and live with him as a 15-year-old and stay with him over the summer. So everything was cool. Also, when I was 15, he took my virginity. And the only reason that I did this with him is because he told me, which should have been a red flag, that if I didn't participate, that he would go and get it from somebody else.
So you started out believing here is your knight in shining armor kind of thing. You've got this great guy who's so different than your stepfather, right? But without realizing it, you're now having the same demands similar to what your stepfather was doing as an adult to your mom.
Exactly, but I didn't see the signs at the time.
Sure.
So, you know, I just saw that, you know, here's this, you know, awesome guy who wants me.
Right.
And so now...
And he's Mr. Popularity, right?
Right.
He wants Stacy.
Right, and he picked me. And so the day after I graduated high school, I moved to Chicago, and I moved in with him, and we got a place. And then we got a checking account, but it was in his name only, and all the credit cards were in his name. We had a dog. He was abusive to the dog. The dog fought back and bit him. These were just kind of things that happened that I wasn't really, you know, cognizant of. Just little things. You know, we got in an argument, and he pushed me one time. He used to get Playboy magazines all the time, and he'd say he'd read them for the articles. You know, it was just small stuff that happened but led up to bigger things. So I used to smoke cigarettes, and he didn't want me smoking cigarettes anymore. Well, I'd been smoking since I was 11, so it's like, well, you know, when you met me, I smoked.
Yeah.
So every time I smoked, he started, a push led to a shove, and a shove led to a beating, where he would
for smoking cigarettes.
For smoking cigarettes. Or if I was 5 minutes late from work, you know, he became this obsessive control freak. So he wanted to know where I was, did I stop for gas, where's the receipt? He would kick me in the stomach. He would most of the times pound the back of my head so I would not have any marks.
So he was strategic about his abuse.
Oh yeah, he was very strategic. He was very controlling. I was not allowed to talk to anybody on the phone unless he listened in. I was not allowed to have friends. I was not allowed to wear makeup if I went out with him. I wasn't allowed, I had to wear my hair down all the time. I wasn't allowed to wear my hair up. Certain clothes I was allowed to wear and not wear. So it was just small things that led to it. So I went to one of my girlfriend's house after work one night, and I tried to reach him. This was back in the day before we had cell phones. I couldn't reach him, so I just went over to her house. And what's the big deal? I'm going to go to my girlfriend's house after work. So about an hour later, he shows up at her house with a gun. I didn't know he had a gun at the time, but he was at the door, and he's like, "Stacy, come outside, I want to talk to you." And I'm like, "No, I'm afraid you're going to hurt me." And he's like, "No, I promise you I'm not going to hurt you." I said, "No, you're going to hurt me." He said, "No, I promise you I'm not going to hurt you." So I went out in the parking lot, and the minute I got in the parking lot, he took my head and slammed it into his knee into my face, and then my friend saw it, and so he ran out, and little did I know, he had a gun, a speed loader in his truck, and he came in and took a gun after all of me and my friends. So we pressed charges against him. Then we dropped charges against him because I felt bad. And at the time
your pattern, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And at the time I called his mother and I said, hey, your son just took a gun after me and all of my friends. He's been abusing me physically. It's just getting worse and worse and worse. He raped me. Several times he raped me. And you know, I'd be crying, begging him not to do it, and he would do it and tie me up and do all sorts of kinky stuff. And so when I called her and told her that, she said, well, what did you do to make him do that to you? And I was just like, okay, forget about it. I'm not having a conversation with you.
And you're still kind of a child, right? Because you're in your younger
18,
years.
18, 19.
So you've gone to somebody who should be an authoritative figure, and you're asking for help and support, and she's now telling you it's your fault too.
Right. So what I did is I told my boss what was going on at my home, and they loaned me some money, and I left him, and I broke up with him. So I'm away from him for maybe like 4 or 5 months, but yet I still had this yearning to get back with him. And so what I did is I saved up a bunch of money, and I went back to him and begged him to take me back. And then I proposed to him.
Wow.
So that's just how sick I was. I didn't realize at the time how sick I was, but I craved what I didn't know. So it's sort of like, that's why I called it the cardboard box, you know, because when I was at the Hilton, it was so uncomfortable. You know, I didn't know what to do with my life because because of the norm that I was raised in. I was missing the beatings.
That was your sense of normalcy. So to not be abused felt more tumultuous than being abused.
Right.
It sounds like you're saying.
Right. And in the interim, when I had moved out, he broke into my home, stole all of my clothes, which he took off all the hangers. So and the neighbors said that they saw him. So just so much crazy stuff happened. So I pressed charges against him. He pled guilty. They gave me like $1,500 restitution. And despite him breaking into my home and stealing the only thing that I had, which was my clothes, I went back to him and proposed to him. So we get married. I go off birth control. I get pregnant right away. So we had to move the wedding date up. So I had a baby. He never hurt me when I was pregnant. But in between pregnancies, he beat me again several times, like all the time. Just, you know, he'd punch me in the stomach. There was one time I came home and he was drinking a beer, and there was a beer and he pushed me and the beer tipped over. And it was like one of the most degrading things that he ever did. He took my hair and he rubbed my face in the carpet like a dog. That was tough. So I got pregnant again, because you're not supposed to get pregnant when you're nursing. But I got pregnant by the grace of God. And so during that pregnancy, he didn't abuse me, but immediately after we had the child, my second child, he would abuse me again for smoking, because I would sneak cigarettes. I didn't smoke when I was pregnant. He would abuse me just for any reason. This is another defining moment. So I'm super mad. I storm down the stairs. I go in the house. I go in the bathroom. I shut the door. I lock it, and I take a shower. And I don't know why. I didn't know what I was going to do. It was like I wanted to leave him, and I thought maybe I was going to leave him. I wasn't quite sure what to do. He comes into the bathroom with a coat hanger, which he had broken in the door with. He brought my 20-month-old son with him, and then he whipped me with a coat hanger, just severely.
In front of your son?
Yes. So I was bruised just everywhere. My private area, my legs, it was so bad. And then later, maybe a couple weeks later, we went out with some friends, and we went out to a bar with the friend that he had worked with and his girlfriend and I were out dancing. And this guy comes up and he says, "Can I dance with you two?" And we're like, "Sure." So we danced a dance, and then we went back to sit down at the table, and then Pat looks at me and he's like, "I am going to kill you when we leave." And I'm like, "Why?" And he's like, "You were dancing with that guy." And I was like, "No, he came up and danced with us." And so by the end of the
But he meant it.
Oh, I was terrified. I went in the bathroom and I told this girl, I said, "Listen, he's been abusing me. I'm scared to death he's going to kill me." And she just thought I was nuts. So, you know, because she didn't see it.
So here you go again, trying to seek some solace somewhere, and you're being rejected for it.
So that night, so then we get in the car, and right away, the minute we get in the car, he's like, "You danced with that guy for 3 dances." I'm like, "No, I didn't." And he's like, bam, and he hits me in the face, and now I'm hit in the face. He's like, give me your rings and give me your driver's license. So I gave him my rings and my driver's license, and he told me he was going to kill me. So I tried to jump out of the car, going like 65 miles an hour. He pulled me back in. He started beating me in the head. We got home. The babysitter saw me. He went to take the sitter home. I woke up the kids to kiss them goodbye. I was going to walk out in front of a semi, and at the last minute, he was there, and he grabbed me. And then
So you tried to take your own life?
I just tried to, yes,
You felt like that was your only escape?
yes. It was very, very bad. And so then we got in the house, and I was so mad. And I'm slamming my fist down, and I'm like, you know what? I deserve better than this. I am not stupid. I am smart. I am pretty. I am not fat. And I broke both of my hands. And then the next day, his friend called, and he's like, what's going on? What's wrong with you? And so I opened up, and I told him everything that was going on in my house, and he said, you got to get out of there. He said, this isn't good, this is not right. You don't deserve that, you gotta get out, you gotta get a plan. And so he was my rescuer, he saved me. And
This is how you get out of the relationship?
this was the final straw. So I went to my boss and I told them, and they borrowed me money, and I got a lawyer, and we were gonna figure out where I was gonna live, and I got an apartment, and we had a game plan. And I was gonna take the kids, and when he went to work, he was going to get served divorce papers, and I left with the clothes on my back.